Hello, I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy, and we need help.
Each week we stumble through a new book, method, or concept that brings us one step closer to being our best self.
Yes, we make fun of ourselves.
And others.
But mostly just ourselves. So here's to not taking self-help quite so seriously.
Welcome to We Need Help. I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy, and today we are tackling the topic of therapy. Yeah.
Therapy.
That's pretty much how I sound when I have to go.
I need therapy.
I need it again. So first half of the episode, we're going to talk about our experiences with therapy. And then second half of the episode, which I'm really excited about, we're going to sort of review that movie, Netflix movie Stutz, which is about Jonah Hill's therapist. He made a really touching documentary about his own therapist and his therapy journey. So cool.
Man. That thing is a must watch.
A must watch. But before we get into that, you have some exciting news. What are you up to tonight? Tell me more.
Tonight I am very excited to say that We Need Help has decided to be a sponsor at the Naples Winter Gala. It's an event that benefits Project Outreach, which is it's a Jesus-based. Can you believe I'm doing this? This is like therapeutic for me because I am Jesus. Oh Jesus, I am so I push back against organized religion. So I've really tried to open my mind, but it's an awesome independent organization that is in Collier County, which is the county I live in, and they help people with food, clothing, cleaning supplies, anything that they need, especially like children and the elderly.
Is this following the hurricane, or is this just in general?
This is why we're doing it. They're focusing on Ian survivors, and they're focusing on getting the community back to a place of thriving. So I'm so happy. And my girlfriend, Tatiana, whom I absolutely respect and love, she is doing it with my girlfriend, Erica, and this other girl that does, she's amazing. She does shop, sip, and something else. But she's a major person in the community. I can't remember her name right now. Don't kill me.
They will be tagging them on Insta.
I will tag them on Insta. Her on so but she's amazing too, and then my friend Erica owns the skin room, so she's the reason I look so beautiful.
You do. You're like glowing.
She does such a good job with my skin. I just go in there and she does I don't know what she does, and then I come out looking
I don't
prettier.
Care. I just close my eyes, and then when I open them, I'm better.
Yeah, and then my friend Tatiana Britz, she is she's incredible. She owns TB Brows Lashes and Beauty, and she's just gorgeous inside and out. She has a boutique. She's just all around. She has a staff of 20 girls, and she treats them like gold. My niece Molly works for her. And I trust her completely. She's just amazing. She's one of those people that is just a giving human being. And she's cool. So,
nice.
Yeah, she's just.
Are you guys all going together? Are you going with Jason?
Jason is at a horse show with Scarlett. So they left this morning.
You're gonna be single,
out, y'all. And I'm wearing red.
Ooh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see the pictures of you in red at the winter ball, where everybody's probably going to be wearing white, which is fine. I would probably wear white too, but you're just going to walk in there bam.
Well, I thought of it because red is one of our branding colors for We Need Help. Yeah. So it's it's got some meaning to me, and it's I can't wait to be a part of it. It really is a good cause. So if you guys, anybody wants to give to the cause, it's at napleswintergala.com, and I would really appreciate it. And I want to say that I've had so many people reach out and just send me money for this. It's incredible.
You can send me money too. I mean, just for
just
because I'm somehow associated with it. Just do it.
But it may not go to Project Outreach.
It'll go to some type of outreach.
Yes.
I can guarantee it.
Outreach for like Botox.
Outreach for bleach my butthole.
Yeah. Oh my God. Here we go. No butthole talk. We're talking about giving in Jesus' name.
Okay. I'm sorry.
God. Cannot be trusted.
I'm sorry. I think that sounds really amazing though, and I can't wait to see all the pictures and everything. And
I'm just happy to be a part of something good for once.
Yeah. You're finally coming over from the dark side to the side of good.
Yep.
Yeah.
My idea with charity is buying somebody a beer for a long time.
Such a good person.
I know. Thank you. So let's talk about therapy.
Hell yeah, let's talk about therapy. This is a great topic to finish off to 2022.
2022.
2022. Hey. So, therapy. Like, when did the therapy journey start for you? Like, when did you first...
When did I need therapy?
Yeah, when did you need therapy? Because before I went to therapy, I needed therapy way before I actually went to therapy. So can you tell me a little bit about that and what it looked like for you?
I mean, I skidded into adulthood on my face. So I needed therapy from the get-go.
Okay. What did you need therapy for? Like, what were your issues? Let's talk about issues.
I have a lot of issues. Let's just be clear. And I think everybody does. Like, we don't come into the world for no reason. We're here to learn lessons. I'm convinced. So, my childhood was different than a lot of people's. And I think that we all have issues to deal with from our childhood, and that's okay. Generational issues. But my major like event that happened that I really screwed me going into my adulthood is I had a baby when I was 18, and he died of sudden infant death syndrome. And at 3 months old. And I don't think that I became a whole human being again for a decade.
Did you not or did anyone push you to see somebody after that happened? Or what happened? Because, nowadays if something like that happened, you'd automatically almost sign up for therapy. But that was a while ago. And what did that look like?
Can I tell you, it's all a blur, and I think I went to therapy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But
I believe that I might have gotten some therapy. I don't remember. Therapy is funny because you're only, if you're in it and you're not open to anything and you're just you're in the passenger seat of your life and you're not trying to change, you're just trying to survive. I don't really think it, has any impact, to the point I don't remember it. But there were a couple of years there where I just don't remember anything at all. It seems weird. People will say, hey, do you remember that time you were doing a keg stand? And I'm like, no, I don't know. But seriously, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
For years after Jake died. And, so I needed therapy then. And then I went on to make some pretty poor decisions and need therapy for those as well.
Now. Yeah.
No, now I feel very comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
And it's because of a lot of the therapies I've been through.
So what was your first therapy ever? I mean, that you can remember, that you remember. Yeah.
It was after my brother died. And I remember my brother committed suicide. And I remember I was losing weight. I couldn't sleep for more than 15 minutes at a time. Was
that because of guilt or grief or combined, or what was
yes. And it was, when you realize that you're gonna, like, pain doesn't stop with one event in your life. Like, and I missed him so much, and I felt guilty because I was his last call. And I was selfish in the way that I really just wanted him, because he was kind of a person in my life that was I always knew had my back no matter what. So, I mean, I was drowning, and I went to my friend Stephanie, and I sat on her ottoman, and I said, I think you need to, I felt that I was dying. I didn't know if I was going to kill myself. I don't think I was going to actually kill myself. I felt like I was going to drink myself to death, or my heart was just going to stop, or something. Like, I just felt this overwhelming doom of, this isn't worth it anymore. This is just bullshit. I thought life was bullshit at the moment. And she said, well, I'll take you in, but give me 24 hours. And she made me an appointment with this lady named Lori Buchanan. And I'm sure she would kill me because I don't know her real title, but she was basically a crystal therapist. So, and Lori saved my life. She saved my life. Not only did she save my life, she was able, through different types of therapy, to get me into the driver's seat of my life, which I had never been in before in my entire life.
So she was a crystal therapist, but she also had other methods.
Yeah, that was just a very small fragment of what her whole thing was. I mean, it was actual therapy too. I mean,
and she's a writer, right? Like, she seems very multifaceted. Like, her website is LoriBuchanan.com, and I looked, and like, she's a writer. She does a lot of different things.
She does fiction books. I was hoping that she would do, maybe she has, because I would like a self-help book, and like, I would beg her to have it. She's like big time, but I would beg her to be on our show, which why wouldn't you? Because we're big time too. But when I went in there, I was shaking on all levels, and she like read, the first thing she does is lay you on the table and make you take off you take off your shoes, and she puts crystals all over you, and she reads your chakras. And she said, all my chakras were absolutely closed except for my communication chakra. And she said, if that wouldn't have been the case, she feels that I probably wouldn't be here today. If I wasn't able to ask Stephanie for help. And it was shaking. It was like almost closed. So she basically, she laid me on the table. She started like, she has a way of reading your feet as a journey. And she said, I'm not a medium or anything, but the man with the tattoos. And I was like, oh my God. And my brother was a tattoo artist. He had full sleeves. And I was like, yeah. And the thing you have to know is he called me lizard breath almost my entire life for Elizabeth. And maybe the last year, I was like, can you call me something different? And he was like, yeah, I'm going to call you Dragonfly, because you just go, whenever you're
you flit around.
Around. So she said, the man with the tattoos? I was like, yeah. And he is screaming at me to tell you, let me go, Dragonfly. Let me go, Dragonfly.
Did you immediately, did you cry?
I was weeping. Like, my ears were full of tears because I'm laying down.
Yeah.
And I just felt this immense amount of, okay, we don't end when we die, just so you know. Like, that was like, that's 100%. And nobody knew he called me Dragonfly. That was our little insight. And he chose that because of that. And I will say that dragonflies are all around me all the time, to the point that I was in a random coffee shop and this lady said, can you hold on? I have something for you, and I don't know why. Perfect stranger. And she came back and gave me a dragonfly ornament. She said, I have to give you this. I'm like, hey.
That's cool. Yeah.
The world is a glorious place, but over the course of the next couple years, Lori, she made me understand that we are in the driver's seat of our life. We do make our choices. She always said, what you're not changing, you're choosing.
I love that.
Yeah. And like, it really, she made me understand that I'm not the victim of Jacob dying. I'm not the victim of my childhood. I'm not the victim of Eric killing himself. Like, it was not anything to do with me.
It's not about you.
It's not about me. And up until that point, I was just surviving. And I will say, she saved my life. She made my life a better. I was able to go on and start living my life of my own decision. I'm not saying bad things aren't going to happen to me, but I can choose to look at the good or the bad. People are going to die, but I can choose to be grateful for my time with them and still live my life,
And you saw her for a few years?
Mm-hmm. And then she lives in Idaho now. So
I love Idaho. Good people.
I don't believe in Idaho, obviously.
Idaho doesn't exist, really. It's like Narnia. She just went through the wardrobe, and there's Idaho.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, yeah. That was the best therapy I ever had. How about you? Tell me. This is our Polish date. Now I'm asking you.
So I needed therapy from I think young childhood, because I was oversensitive. So we have that sweatshirt in our store, by the way, oversensitive.
Go buy it.
I did not know how to control my temper. I just didn't have tools, and I could have used some tools. And I remember in high school, I had I didn't have a full-on eating disorder because I didn't have the discipline to be anorexic, but I definitely was obsessed with exercise and watching my weight. And I just remember approaching my mom and saying, I think I need to go see a shrink, a psychologist. And she goes, those are for crazy people. Just eat. That was that.
She was kind of old school, right?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't, it's that's for people who have schizophrenia and not,
the 90s,
because they have an issue with eating.
They didn't say, in the 90s, people weren't going to therapy.
Yeah. However, I went to a pretty, it wasn't the ritziest high school, but it was a pretty well-off high school, and a lot of my friends had therapists. But you know what? They weren't happier. It wasn't ooh, but they were, I wanted a therapist because they just had one, and and I really did have
FOMO for therapy. I love it.
How come she gets to go to therapy?
I want to go.
But I really needed something because I just did not know how to feel okay in my own skin. I didn't have those tools. And then I discovered alcohol, and that became my therapist. I finally found the magic thing that made me feel okay in my own skin. So that was that. And then I started going to therapy again for my addiction, But it was the only therapy that has worked for me in my life is action-based therapy, not thinking, analyzing therapy. So anytime I've gone into therapy and we've analyzed and dug through the past and found really interesting, come to really interesting conclusions, it has not worked for me. The only thing that has worked for me is a therapist who suggests specific actions, which I take, and that changes my thinking. So it's talking therapy and a little analyzing does not work for me at all. It has not. Yeah. But yeah, I did loads of therapy. I mean, I got sent to Poland to go to rehab for 11 months, and I was in a locked rehab on a farm in Poland for 11 months.
And they had therapy there. I just pictured you Cinderella feeding the talking chickens.
Yeah, I mean, it was
friends.
No. I had
Did
a
you have
mouse
any
friend.
mice that were friends?
I had a cat, which I'm allergic,
Same
so it wasn't a great situation. But it was hardcore. Like, so this form of therapy, like a rehab therapy, was you wake up at 7 in the morning and you go out and exercise, and then you come back in and everyone has their chores. So everyone has their thing to clean. Like you have to clean your room and then clean a space in the house. And then there's breakfast, and then there's group therapy after breakfast. And then you have homework, so you write your homework, and then there's lunch. And then you have free time where you can do more of your homework, and then you have group therapy again, and you have individual therapy, and then it's like bedtime. And that was every day.
That sounds so exhausting.
For 11 months.
Wow.
And it didn't help.
Wow.
Because for addiction, it doesn't matter if you figure out all the reasons. You have to start changing your habits, right? And there was none of that. It was all fear. It was all triggers. You know, what are your triggers? Like, oh, that sounds like a fun way to live. Like, let's avoid everything in life because it could be a trigger.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with the whole world today. We're just
exactly. The whole world is triggered.
We're triggered.
You know what? Fuck triggers. Like, I don't believe in triggers. Seriously, as an addict, opening my eyes in the morning is a trigger. Getting up out of bed is a trigger. Like, give me a break. So I had an addict ex, and he said that it's, you know, and he was addicted to like major drugs, the big ones. He said, you know, I really want drugs when I have a bad day, and I really want drugs when I have a good day. There's your triggers. Stay away from anything that makes you sad or happy.
Good luck with all that.
Good luck with that. So it was bullshit. Like, you're sitting around writing out your triggers and then like avoid those. Come on. I want to live a life where I don't have to avoid life.
Yeah.
You know, and so
you got to lean into those triggers.
Yeah. Therapy didn't work for me, but I think it's also finding the right type of therapy for you and the right therapist. It's really important. Yeah.
I recently took some therapy. I was having an extremely hard time with a friendship that I wasn't understanding. Like, I was trying my best and it just wasn't working. And I went through BetterHelp.com. And the best thing, and I don't even think he meant to do it. Like, it wasn't really, like, he didn't mean to do it, but he was like, the problem isn't you. The problem is her. She's a narcissist. And she's, you know, entitled and this, that, and the other. And the reason you're feeling like that is because she's, like, gaslighting you and this, that. And I remember just thinking, oh, okay. Like, if therapists would just tell you the truth, it would be wonderful.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this after the break, but in this Stutz, in this movie, he says that's what therapists are. They're not supposed to get engaged in the process. Yeah. That they're supposed to let you process, and I've wasted years doing that. Doing that, sitting there, and the therapist is trying to get me to understand something. Just tell me.
I know.
Just tell me, okay?
I've had so many, like, weird things, like, you know, get so frustrated with a therapist. Just tell me what to do. I don't, like, I don't want to figure it out on my own. I know that sounds terrible and lazy and everything, but, like, obviously I'm not smart enough to do it because if I could see it, I'm in this bubble hard. Yeah. You know, like, take me out of my bubble. Tell me what you see.
Yeah.
It's just time saving. It's like, I need a fast track. And I know that sounds tape. Like, we need duct tape. We need to get down the highway, man. God.
I am, you know, Anthony DeMello, who is the first, I think it's the first book that we did.
That was the first one.
And he talked a lot about therapy versus spirituality. Because he was a Jesuit priest and a therapist, and he would sometimes have a conflict within himself because he would say therapy provides relief but spirituality provides the cure. And he would sometimes say, like, do I give them temporary relief or do I give them the cure? You know, in the form of some type of spiritual enlightenment. And I think that's a lot of the trouble with therapy. My trouble with therapy, okay, I'll talk about my experience, was that I would go in, I would vomit weekly on my therapist. We would process it, we would analyze it. I would feel much better for a day afterwards, and then I would go back to feeling the same way.
Yeah.
You know, there was no real change, you know, it just didn't work for me.
The only time a typical therapist really helped me was when he accidentally said, "That's bullshit," you know?
Yeah.
And it was so, I wish more people would be like that. And was it in this show, or am I just making that up, that they said your friends give you advice and your therapists listen? And it should be the opposite.
Yeah, Jonah Hill said that. We'll talk about it after the break. But he said, you go to your therapist and they're just listening, and then you go to your friends and you talk to them and they're idiots and they give you advice. And your therapist, who's the intelligent one, should be the one giving you advice, and you just want your idiot friends to listen.
Yeah. Well, that's why I surround myself with really smart friends for the most part.
Oh, thank you. So but I do remember, because you were just conflicted, because I think you have what I have, is you're looking for the fault within yourself, and you could almost drive yourself crazy looking for the fault within yourself. And sometimes you just need somebody to say, it's not your fault.
Yeah, that's not you.
That's not you. Stop taking that on.
That's not a you problem.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
freedom.
it's part of my control freak, which we also have on a shirt at weneedhelpthestore.com. But like, my control freak says, if it's my problem, I can fix it.
Yeah.
And it's so nice when somebody says, that's not you. It's not a you problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I think friends do a lot of times. Sometimes they're able to say, like, I'll be bitching and moaning about something that's happening, and my friend will be like, that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're a good friend, that's what you've done that for me a million times. You've been like, okay, why are you even worrying about this? This is not on you.
Yeah.
I love when you give it to me straight.
Well, I think true friendship, it's like I have to be able to risk you not liking me to tell you the truth.
I love that.
You know, and you've done that so many times for me, where I'm calling you bitching about, you know, Maciek or something, and you're like, well, and you will like defend him, and I'm like, but I appreciate that, because, you know, that's what I need. I need the truth, and not, I don't just need you to agree with me just to agree with me. You know?
And I think that, like, I don't want to do that. I want to agree with you 100%.
Of course.
It's just you won't trust me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's really important. I want to be able to trust my therapist.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think some therapists are really good, but I think there's also some issue with some therapists that the issue of that money exchange, kind of, they're weird about it, you know, because the longer you're in therapy, the longer they have a client, you know, and they don't want to upset. Like, there is that issue.
It doesn't behoove them. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah,
although some therapists are able to kind of look past that, and I'm in therapy now, and she's amazing. So
okay, tell me more.
Yeah. Just, you know, a little bit of relationship maintenance, and
a little bit.
But she's amazing, because she's also action based. So we go in there, we tell her what we're dealing with, and she says, okay, what do you need to get to where you need to be, and what do you need to get to where you need to be? So she doesn't focus on the past. Like, we do not talk about our childhoods. We don't dig through that. She just asks me, and I'll talk about my own experience in this, what kind of woman do you want to be? And I will tell her. And then she says, okay, what can you do this week to get a little closer to that ideal? And then I will tell her, and she's like, okay, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah. So it's almost more like coaching than therapy. It's very action-based.
Scorned. What kind of woman do you want to be?
Scorned.
That's
Hell
awesome.
hath no fury like me.
Now,
So, yeah.
in a couples therapy, because Jason took therapy separate and I took therapy separate, but we've never done couples therapy. Do you have to break some eggs to make an omelet?
You break some eggs to make an omelet.
Like, it would be like if I went in and said all the things that are wrong with our marriage and then had to go home with him.
No, she's focused. So she does like positive action therapy. So she doesn't want us to talk about what's wrong. She wants us to talk about what's right and what could be right and how to build towards that.
Okay.
We don't spend any time talking about what's wrong.
Oh, I love
because
that.
I will tell her what I don't want. She goes, what do you want? I don't want you to tell me what you don't want. I want you to tell me what you do want. And I'm like, okay, I want this. Okay, how can we achieve that?
That's exactly what Lori did for me.
That's amazing.
She got me thinking in that way.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
That's
because
so
I think
awesome.
a lot of people go into therapy, and especially in couples therapy, they want to tell their side and the therapist to agree with them and then get their partner to change. That's really secretly everybody wants that.
Everyone does.
But she doesn't allow for that, and she just says, what kind of couple do you want to be? What kind of person, what kind of woman do you want to be, Isabella? And what do you need from Maciek? Maciek, what do you need from Isabella? Are you both willing to do that for each other? What can you do as a couple this week? So it's all very action-based, and it gets you to the goal quicker.
I think that one of the best things we can look at in life is if you're in a healthy relationship, you're not trying to win it.
Yeah.
You know, you're not trying to win marriage. You're not trying to win friendship. You're not trying to win parenthood. You're not trying to win anything like that. Like, it's like, you know, once we start to try to win, then we're no longer on the same team.
Absolutely. There's no unity. And that's the thing that she also says, it's you two creating one. It's a we. It's not you versus him. And even, like, I think last week or the week before, I'm going to go by myself. And I called her and she goes, well, I'm here for you too. So you have to talk to Maciek about that if you want to come by yourself. Wonderful. So I really liked that. She wasn't like, sure, come on in, you know? So she's very smart. So yeah, I dig her a lot.
Sounds amazing. She sounds amazing.
Yeah. So should we take a break? Oh, she's based in Warsaw, Poland. And if you guys want to look her up on Facebook, her name is Jolanta Bilicka. And I'll do a little post on Facebook about her because she's amazing.
That would be wonderful. She sounds amazing. All right,
She's great.
Let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about Stutz.
Stutz.
All right, be right back. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back from
pretty.
the break.
Did you like that?
No.
Oh, frick.
I'm telling you the truth. I'm your real friend.
Well, I was kind of doing this. Have you watched Wednesday yet?
No.
The series about Wednesday Addams.
I know what it's about, but I haven't. Is it good? I heard it's fantastic.
So fantastic, and it's Scarlett's favorite new show. Like,
good.
She had this thing with, and she'll probably be talking about this at therapy, but whatever. For any of the bad people, like in Disney movies, she went through a hardcore Maleficent stage.
Where she liked them?
Yeah, she loved them. And so we went to the Bippity Boppity Boutique at Disney, and they were like, what princess would you like to be? She's like, Maleficent. They're like, they couldn't help her. They didn't have a Maleficent.
They didn't?
No.
They should.
I think they may now, but they didn't then. And she was just like, I don't want it. I am not a princess. She was against
That
it.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how badass. I love how fierce she is. She's fierce.
Yeah,
she is fierce.
she loves Wednesday.
We have a fierce t-shirt in our store.
We need help, thestore.com.
Fierce t-shirt for kids, adults, and we even have a fierce hat, I think.
I think
if we don't, I'll make one. Necklace.
We have the necklace, which I love. That's the best word.
It is fierce.
Yeah.
Fierce. So this episode, we're talking about therapy. And after the break, we wanted to talk about Stutz, which is the Jonah Hill documentary about his therapist. So what did you think of the film?
I think I love Jonah Hill. He is so authentic and amazing. And I love his therapist. And I loved his therapist. Whole concept of it. It's like, thank you for showing up and being real. And how vulnerable that must have been. I mean,
yeah, and I loved how it was messy, because that's all us, like vulnerable, kind of messy, not putting perfect. It out there, not doing it perfect. It was great.
So unscripted and lovely, and it was great. And I would love a couple sessions with Phil Stutz.
Phil Stutz is great. So Phil Stutz, he's one of the world's renowned and leading psychiatrists and coaches, and he works with a lot of the Hollywood elite. But he is also the creator and best-selling author of a book that I think we should do next year, for sure.
Okay, for sure.
Called The Tools and Coming Alive. So he basically has created a bunch of tools, which I was like, I really enjoyed listening to his description, and then he draws them on little note cards and gives them to the patient so they like remember the tools. So he's big on visualization techniques. Yeah. And I just thought it was really endearing, like the whole thing, because Phil Stutz he's just got this calming presence. Like you're immediately in his presence, even through the screen, your soul is calm.
And he's got a disease. He's
got
Parkinson's disease. And yeah. I feel like it's such a tribute to him from Jonah Hill. I don't know whose idea it was, but I think Jonah probably came up with it. Jonah and I, like now we talk like that. I'm Lizzy, he's Jonah. But I think it's a tribute to him because that disease is one that you fade away. He's making him available to the entire world.
Yeah, immortal.
Yeah, he's making him immortal.
Which is, he did say, like, it's life doesn't end after death. You are immortal, and it's beautiful that Jonah Hill did this, and it was really beautifully filmed.
It was.
It's black and white. There's some colors, but it's all very calming. Like I watched it, and I felt like almost like I had been meditating for an hour. Like that's how I felt after watching this film.
Yeah, it was really, really, really cool. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So do you remember anything from it that particularly like got you, or that you remember that was important to you, or what did you get out of it?
Well, I love that my favorite thing about it was he had like a pyramid, and you have to take care of your body, you have to take care of your relationships, and then you have to take care of yourself and your relationship with yourself. And I think that is such a great, if you just took that and went with it, you took care of your body, you
connected
with people in a healthy way, and then you were able to connect with your spirituality. I think that is the epitome of a life well lived.
Yeah, he called that the life force, that triangle.
Yeah.
And that was it. And he said, like, that's what we're starting with, And I think my favorite thing was that, we talked about this before the break, but how he, you go to therapists and they're really non-invasive, but he doesn't agree with that. He said, I need something. And he was talking to his partners about this, like when he was early on in his career. He's like, I need something that the patient can walk out with and feel better immediately.
Yeah.
And that's, take care of your body, do this. He will give you suggestions so you feel better immediately.
Items, like you were saying, action items.
Yeah. I just really, it was funny because the whole, I'm watching the documentary, and the whole time I'm like, this is what the 12 steps is about. Like, right. It's all there. It's all the same principles. It's these same principles, the principle of action, the principle of giving, all these principles. So it was really cool. And And I think that's why it works, because he does believe in that action. He does believe in plugging into the life force. So there was so much in there that I loved. And he talked about also the 3 aspects of reality that you have to accept, which is pain, uncertainty, and constant work. Mm-hmm. And once you accept that, like, you can just kind of get on with it, which I love that as well.
I could completely relate to that. And I'm like, because I say it all the time, the only thing that we can all fully connect on is pain. Because that is something that we all have. It might be different. It's all relative. We're all experiencing pain. And life is, I wish people would I wish I would always accept that life is hard and work. You don't get to just show up.
Because there'd be no growth. There'd be no progress.
Yeah, you just be sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing he said, and I think the reason it hit home for me is because it was like exactly what we're doing with this podcast and this whole movement is failure, weakness, and vulnerability is a connector. Yes. It connects you to other humans. And I was like, that's, yes. That was really, really great.
It really, just think of how many times, have you ever, my favorite thing is understanding that we're all in this together, too.
Yeah.
We're all experiencing these things. And the reason that I don't connect with people is if they're not being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Brene Brown is all about, but just connecting on that level is a true connection.
And that I'm so glad you mentioned this, because he said that is the key to connecting with yourself. So he has this tool that he uses. He calls them all tools, like these little aspects that he has, called the shadow. Mm-hmm. And it's the part of you that you wish you were not. Yeah. It's the part of yourself that you don't like. And he says you have to connect with that and respect that part of you and get, bring that into your heart. And so it was really funny because Jonah brings out a cardboard cutout of himself when he was 14 and he was extremely overweight. And he just was like, this is who I had to connect with. I had to accept this guy here.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the same thing that we
part.
do. I talk about being vain has actually saved my life.
Yeah. Is that your shadow, you think? What's your shadow?
I think I have a vanity. Well, some people would call that my we're so used to taking that as a compliment now. Yeah. I see it like that, but that would be a shadow.
Yeah.
He being said oversensitive, accepting that. And yeah. My dad, that's the one way. I said, Dad, I was writing my lifetime story, my life story. And I said, Dad, how would you describe me as a child? And he thought felt like 4 minutes, but it was probably less. He said, you were oversensitive and small. And I've, accepted we talk about it all the time, oversensitive means more is better. I'm better at being sensitive than other people.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my shadow.
He said, so if you close your eyes and kind of scan through your life, it's that part of you that you disliked the most when you're thinking about your past self, that image of you that was just so insecure and just so down, that part that you just want to hide her forever. Yeah. That's that part. That's the shadow.
For me, it would be not feeling good enough.
Yeah.
But that has propelled me to do so many wonderful things.
Yeah.
What's your shadow?
It's when I was, I think, I was about 12, and I remember I wanted to be seen, and I wanted to be cool, and I was painfully insecure. And it was painful to be me. I just did not like myself. There was not one part of me that liked any part of myself. I thought I was ugly. And I was so insecure, and I was filled with self-hatred. And that, I think, is that shadow. That painfully thin, what I thought was ugly little girl. I have to, have that cardboard cutout and give her a hug, because that was that. Yeah.
I can't imagine, like just not being able to see, because I see you for who you are. And just, it's unbelievable for me to think that you felt like that. It makes me so sad.
Yeah.
I want to give that 12-year-old girl a hug.
Yeah, me too. And it wasn't like I had people around me not, it wasn't like I took that from people around me. It was just the way I felt about myself, So that's interesting. But
were you competing with the other 12-year-olds? Because that can get nasty.
I think so. It wasn't them though. It was just really me. Like I just didn't want to be. I was uncomfortable in my own skin, and I didn't want to be there. And I thought I needed to look and just be different.
Well, I mean, and with these GMOs, I mean, some of these girls they were like 36, 24, 36 at 11.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm over here. I didn't start my period until I was 16. Like,
I know. I used to stuff my bra. I don't know if there's any bra stuffers there, but now that I think about it, because I stuffed it with cotton balls, it must have been lumpy. Like,
oh God, cotton balls, huh?
Like people had to have known that I stuffed my bra.
Well, yeah, I use socks.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought this was a beautiful film. Although I do think sometimes therapy can be, there's a little too much obsession with self in therapy. And that's one thing I don't like. Like you're going in there and you're constantly obsessing about yourself and what's going on with you. And I think that's the one thing I don't like about therapy. And I think that's the one thing that bugged me about this movie was like Jonah Hill was constantly talking about himself and how he was feeling and him. And I think that's the only issue I have with therapy is that sometimes, and maybe it's in his book, and that's why I would love to do it next year, is he had one line in this book when he was talking about the sun. It's one of his visualizations, and you say, you are burned up and you become the sun, and all you can do is give, and you cannot take. And as the sun, you're just giving. And I thought, that is a beautiful image. That is I want to be the sun, And I think sometimes in therapy, it's all about me.
Well, and I think therapy therapy had a really good place when we weren't a society that was so obsessed with self. And social media has helped with that. But I also think that we're in a growing time as a society and it's like now we've overcorrected. Like, so we've focused on ourselves and getting ourselves better, but now we kind of need to go ahead and connect with everyone else now.
Yeah.
And I hope that like any good therapist would encourage that. Like, I think the perfect therapist would give actions, encourage, what do they call it in the 12 steps when you acts of service?
Acts of service, yeah.
And connecting that way. And it's just like, in the perfect therapy world, like they're encouraging you to connect as one with the entire universe.
Yeah.
That would be the spiritual side, I guess, but
yeah, and that's where I would love spirituality to be a bigger part. And I'm sure this was relatively short documentary, so that's why I want to read his book, but a lot of what worked for me in a 12-step program that didn't work for me in therapy was it's not all about you and your pain, Isabella. You're not the center of the universe. You're not the sun. You're not, you are just a small part of a bigger world, and everyone has pain. And what you can do is use your pain to help other humans. So then you start seeing the sense in your pain, And that's what was missing for me. Like Jonah was like all obsessed about accepting his inner child, whatever, but like use that fat kid to go help another fat kid. You know what I'm saying? Like
I think that's what he's doing though. I do. I think that's what
I do as well, and I would have loved to see more of that rather than the self-obsession thing. Not self-obsession, but just this constant of self, like putting yourself out there to help, to be of service. And I think that was his
reasoning. Like I mean, it's be awful to be up there and just talking about yourself. And, you know, that, I think that was his act of service in it all.
Yeah.
I felt that it was very unselfish to do.
Yeah.
You know, it was his way of giving back to all the 15-year-old fat kids.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. But I hate saying fat. I really hate when I say it. That's one of my words that triggers me. 'Cause I hate that word.
Are you triggered? Yeah.
I'm triggered. But I think that, you know, we're in a position where it's a dance between understanding that you are special and understanding that you're not special.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Does that, how
You're
do you,
uniquely you are uniquely qualified to help another human. That's what I say. That's your
I
special.
like that.
That's your special. You are uniquely, you have been given the tools by the universe, unique tools to help another suffering soul that is similar to you. That's how you're special. You're not special because you know, it's all about you and your pain and poor me, you
Yeah.
know?
Or
Get
and
over
you're
yourself.
not special because you're just special either. You're just not like,
Yeah.
you're not better than anyone else
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. And I think if you can get out of yourself a little bit, and I think that's where therapy does make a mistake, because it is all about you. You're going all the time and it's all about you. So let's read his book in 2023 and let's see
Yeah.
what else is in there, because I'm very curious. I would love to have a
lot of
conversation
books
with
to
him
read
too
in
about that.
2023.
We need to get Stutz onto our podcast first
I
of all.
would love that if he would. That would be amazing. Stutz, we'd like to invite you to our podcast.
Yeah. Because I want to have this conversation with him and see what he thinks about it. So,
I think that would be, what's your New Year's resolution going to be?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't thought of one yet. Have you? You've thought of one, obviously. You probably.
I've got like, well, I think of them all the time. Like I try to make them small. Like one time it was to always have tissue in my car. One was to take more pictures of my niece Molly, because I haven't been taking pictures of her. That was a couple of years ago. But I think it's going to be to cook more at home.
Okay.
You know, just really, and Jason, Scarlett, and I are definitely, we are going back to our way of eating before we moved to Naples, where everything was available. We're going back to a healthy way of life. We've talked about it as a family. I feel that we're unhappy because of what we're putting in our bodies. And Scarlett's eating more. I mean, she thought macaroni and cheese was green for like 4 years. Like I went all in for this child's nutrition, and now it's like I've lost all control of it. So nutrition's going to be really big for me this next year.
Yeah. For me, like the first thing that came to my head when you asked me that question was, I think I'm going to start meditating, because even watching this movie, it felt like a meditation. And then he had that visualization of you fall into the sun and you're letting go of everything and all you can do is give. And I really loved when I closed my eyes and I felt like I was the sun and my rays were just positive and like beaming out of me. I loved the way I felt after that.
I felt
and
myself
I think it makes
burn
me
up and be gone.
Oh,
It's a journey. It's a journey for everybody.
yeah, everyone has their own thing, man. But
I was just no longer. To each their own.
To each their own. So I wanted to wish everybody here just a great holiday season and a
Yeah.
happy new year. And we will see you next Tuesday, but with I think we're going to do like a couple repeat episodes. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
probably just going to take a break, I
You
think.
can see us next Tuesday. We won't see each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
next Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh.
Aw. Well, I love
So,
you,
yeah.
and this year has
I love
been
you, too.
wonderful, and I'm so excited about 2023. Although I still
cannot wait.
sometimes write 19 when I'm writing a check.
1922.
I've only written like 2 checks in the last 5 years, so it's not that big a deal.
1922. You're like, What are those flappers? Hello, my darling. Oh, I hope this check goes through.
Oh, Sonny boy, oh. Oh my God.
Can't wait for 1923. Oh,
Wow, it's the Big Bang, yeah. The Great Gatsby.
oh.
Where is Leonardo DiCaprio? Well, I love the shit out of you.
I love the shit out of you.
And we will see you next year.
See you next year.
Next 2023. Bye. Thanks for joining us this week on We Need Help, the podcast, the duct tape of self-help.
Please visit our website, weneedhelpthepodcast.com, where you can find links to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and all the others, so you'll never miss a show.
You'll also find links to the books we've reviewed and our amazing store.
If you enjoy this podcast, go right now, because if you're anything like us, you'll never do it later. Like and share our page and episodes on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or just tell a friend about the show. That would help us out too.
Also, feel free to let us know what you need help with, and we'll try to cover it in a future episode. You can also find us on Instagram at weneedhelp_the podcast.
Thank you for listening.